Hello and welcome to Omni Deep Dive. We explore any topic from finance and technology to literature and science. Sit back, focus, and get ready to dive deep.
We live in an endless, just a brutal battle for our attention.
Absolutely.
Seriously, just take a second to think about all the noise. Your phone is constantly pinging, the inboxes are just overflowing.
And every notification, from a Slack message to, a low battery warning, it just pulls you out of the moment.
Exactly. Even when you try to unplug, you're immediately just overstimulated, endless scrolling.
Yeah.
You are never, ever truly in your own thoughts.
And that state of modern-day noise pollution is precisely what triggered the rise of monk mode.
Right.
It's not just another fleeting productivity hack.
Mm-hmm.
This is a self-imposed period of radical immersion that has gained massive traction in these online high-performer circles.
Okay, so let's unpack this for everyone listening. What are we actually talking about when we say monk mode?
It's defined by a total intentional commitment to cutting out distractions and vices, basically anything that gives you instant gratification, to dedicate your entire cognitive capacity to one single challenging goal.
Like scaling a business or mastering a skill?
Exactly. But crucially, it's not meant to be a permanent lifestyle. It's a temporary sprint. Usually it's defined as lasting anywhere from, say, 21 days up to 90 days.
So here's our mission for today's deep dive. Is monk mode a legitimate strategy for achieving that, non-linear growth, for finally gaining that modern superpower of laser focus?
Well,
Or does it just encourage a toxic, isolated Grindset that's just disguised as self-improvement? We are diving straight into that debate, looking at the evidence for the disciplined believer versus, well, the work-life balance skeptic.
to start, we have to lay down the law. While every protocol you find online has its own little flair, some demand cold showers, others mandate specific diets, the sources we looked at all agree on 3 non-negotiable pillars. This is the foundation.
Okay, I'm playing the disciplined believer today, so I want to know the absolute bare minimum. What are the 3 non-negotiables?
First, a mandatory dedicated 10 minutes of meditation every day. And this isn't just about relaxation,
Okay, training.
It's active training for the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of the brain handling decision-making, impulse control.
Yeah.
You're teaching it to reduce that impulsive reactivity to every digital temptation.
Training the impulse control muscle.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Second, 30 minutes of exercise every single day. This is non-negotiable for maintaining physical energy, getting blood flow to the brain, and supporting optimal cognitive function, which is critical during these intense work periods.
Yeah, you need to boost those natural mood regulators. And the third pillar, this is probably the toughest one for a lot of people.
It is complete sobriety, 0 alcohol or recreational drugs.
0.
And this rule serves one key purpose: to ensure stable baseline dopamine levels and eliminate that mental fog or chemical hangover that can just derail your focus.
Right, because if your dopamine system is always chasing artificial highs, it makes finding satisfaction in hard work that much harder.
Exactly. And that third pillar connects this whole thing to the psychological engine driving it, which is the whole dopamine detox or dopamine fasting trend.
We should be really clear about what that means, though.
Yes, dopamine is a crucial neurotransmitter. It regulates motivation, mood, movement. The goal here is not to stop your brain from producing dopamine. That's both impossible and dangerous.
So what's the actual goal?
The goal is to discourage the behaviors that give your brain too much dopamine instantly. Things like endless social media scrolling, binge watching, high-sugar junk food, video games.
Because it's not starvation, it's about recalibrating the entire reward system.
Precisely. By consciously limiting exposure to those, super stimuli, the brain's reward system can reset. It lets you find genuine pleasure and motivation in healthier things, like reading or focused meditation, or actually completing a challenging task.
And the recognized benefits are pretty powerful. We're talking quantifiable effects. Reduce stress from lower cortisol, greatly improve focus.
And that improved focus gets channeled directly into the specific execution strategy you need for monk mode to work. Deep work.
Cal Newport's concept.
Exactly. Structuring your days around 4 to 6 hours of tackling cognitively demanding tasks with 0 distractions. The key is prioritizing that hardest, highest value task as soon as you wake up, before you even glance at your phone.
Okay, let's jump into the big debate here, because this is where monk mode either proves itself or completely falls apart.
Yeah.
Speaking as the disciplined believer, monk mode is the necessary tool for nonlinear growth.
Okay.
Slow, steady effort gives you linear returns. But massive success, the kind that really changes your trajectory, often requires these short periods of extreme intensity. It's a deliberate shock to the system.
I get the intensity, but the work-life balance skeptic in me sees the immediate danger. This approach risks becoming that infamous Grindset trap.
How so?
The core risk is that your self-worth becomes tied entirely to your output. You start sacrificing relationships, your mental health, all in this aggressive pursuit of optimization. Studies warn that suddenly cutting off all distractions can backfire, leading to intense withdrawal and rebound anxiety.
But the value of achieving that level of focus, the ultimate competitive advantage in this chaotic world, surely that outweighs some temporary isolation. Plus, the structure itself is a benefit.
What do you mean?
Wearing the same outfit, time boxing every hour, that frees up your brain's precious cognitive bandwidth from decision fatigue. You're saving that energy for deep strategic work, not deciding what to wear.
The decision fatigue argument is sound, I'll give you that. But the psychological consequences of isolation are stark. Psychologists have warned for years that prolonged social isolation leads to anxiety, depression.
But it's a temporary sprint, 6 to 12 weeks. It's a reset, not a permanent state.
I know, but the sources we looked at reveal a pretty significant social cost.
What specifically does the data tell us?
Well, it connects directly to the global loneliness epidemic. The data suggests that for some, the structured isolation of monk mode is used, maybe consciously, maybe not, as an excuse to avoid the uncomfortable effort of building and maintaining social connections.
So it's not about focus anymore, it's about avoiding social discomfort.
Precisely. And we have to remember, the quality of your relationships has a direct, profound correlation with the quality of your life and your performance, which is why some high performers are now moving towards a modified approach, social monk mode.
Interesting. What's that?
The principle is the same. You isolate your work from distraction, but you consciously maintain and grow your essential social connections. You manage boundaries, but you don't just disappear.
That compromise actually leads us right into the cognitive science, which is fascinating. It explains why this intensive focus works so well and why distractions are so ridiculously costly. We have material here drawing on research into computational cognitive load.
Right, which is often applied to machine learning models, but it's a perfect analogy for human working memory. This is where it gets really interesting. We can actually formalize why your focus degrades. It's not just wasted time, it's a physical degradation of your performance.
Okay, lay it out for us. What are the mechanisms?
The first is context saturation. Think of your working memory like a small, limited desktop. Context saturation happens when all this extraneous, task-irrelevant information, a notification, an ad, noise, just overwhelms that desktop.
So it's like having 50 tabs open on your browser and your machine just grinds to a halt.
Exactly. The second, and I'd argue more insidious mechanism, is attentional residue.
Attentional residue, what's that?
It's the lingering interference from a prior task that contaminates your current thinking. So if you spend 60 seconds on a stressful email, right before you switch to a creative task, the stress and tension from that email leave a residue.
And that residue pollutes your creative work.
For the next 15 minutes, easily, even after you've closed the tab.
Wow. That completely flips the script on multitasking. We don't just switch tasks, we carry mental baggage with us. So the whole goal of monk mode is just to minimize both of those things.
Exactly. And that explains why the structure is so important.
Okay, so based on fighting that cognitive load, let's get into the practical how-to for anyone listening who wants to try a 90-day sprint. Step 1 has to be disciplined planning. Define the sprint. Set one big goal. Break it down into weekly objectives, your macro and mesocycles, and schedule every day with rigid time blocks.
And having that defined short endpoint is crucial. It lets the brain endure the intensity because it knows it's not forever. It prevents burnout.
Then you enter what we call the lockdown state. This is time blocking on steroids. You have to commit to an unbreakable meeting with yourself. 1 to 4 hours of deep work, daily, total technological isolation.
Cal Newport's monk mode morning.
Right. Before noon, absolutely no meetings, no calls, no email, no non-essential internet.
That morning isolation ensures you conquer the hardest tasks when your prefrontal cortex is at its sharpest. That's how you fight context saturation. But what about the urge to relapse?
That brings us to the reward mechanism. To avoid sliding back, you have to intentionally earn your dopamine. You only reward yourself with digital entertainment or social media after you've completed your deep work tasks.
You're scheduling entertainment like it's a chore. It happens on your terms as a reward at a scheduled time. It doesn't bleed into your work.
But the skeptic in me, well, in you, worries about sustainability. How do we ensure self-care in this sprint?
We have to acknowledge that deep work is cognitively exhausting. Recovery isn't a luxury, it's mandatory. That means frequent scheduled breaks. And going back to that social monk mode idea, you have to keep in touch with friends and family. Communicate your boundaries. Monk mode isn't total social annihilation.
That focus on social ties brings us back to the most critical counterpoint, the true cost of isolation. We have these really powerful organizational behavior studies on loneliness at work.
And the research is very clear. Loneliness isn't just shyness. It's a fundamental human motivational state, like hunger or physical pain. It's also a significant social phenomenon that your coworkers can actually observe.
And what did that study find about performance when loneliness increased?
It found that greater loneliness at work led to significantly poor performance across all key metrics: task performance, team contribution, everything. And this was mediated by two key psychological reactions. First, lowered effective commitment.
Mean?
A reduction in emotional attachment and involvement in the organization's mission. If you feel estranged, you mentally check out.
You're there physically, but your heart isn't in it. What's the second reaction?
Increased surface acting. Hiding or masking your true feelings. Think of the immense cognitive effort it takes to fake enthusiasm on a video call when you're actually stressed and isolated. That effort is just diverted away from your actual work. It's like another form of attentional residue.
That is a productivity killer that just operates silently. And we see similar effects in the context of intense work-from-home periods, right, which basically mirror monk mode isolation.
Absolutely. The WFH studies confirmed it. Increased days working from home were associated with more loneliness and a significant increase in role overload. That crushing feeling of having way too much work and not enough resources.
But here's the major, totally counterintuitive paradox we found in the material. The study found that individuals who reported high social support,
The ones with good friends.
yes, they actually experienced a more pronounced increase in both role overload and loneliness as their WFH days increase.
Wait, so you're telling me the people who had the best social safety nets were the ones who suffered the most when they isolated? That completely flips the script on social resilience.
It does. It fundamentally challenges that assumption that strong social support is always a buffer. The findings suggest that those with the strongest social ties felt the absence of those ties far more acutely. The psychological cost of isolation was actually steeper for them than for people who already had weak social connections.
Wow, so isolation didn't just hurt the lonely, it hurt the connected even more. So when we put all this together, the optimization data and the isolation data, what does it all mean?
I think it means monk mode, when it's framed correctly as a temporary sprint with recovery built in, is a powerful and viable tool. It helps you overcome modern cognitive load and achieve genuine nonlinear growth.
Right. By exploiting that, attention is a superpower effect. However, if monk mode is extended beyond its endpoint, or if it's used as an excuse to perpetually avoid social bonding, the evidence shows severe quantifiable degradation in performance and well-being.
A degradation that comes from work loneliness, lowered commitment, and that crushing role overload.
Which makes the final challenge of the 90-day sprint crystal clear for you, the listener. The quality of your relationships has a direct correlation with the quality of your life, and even high social support offers limited protection against the costs of self-imposed isolation.
The true challenge of monk mode isn't the discipline required to start it. It's the profound intentionality required to successfully reintegrate into your social life afterward without sacrificing those essential connections that ultimately sustain high performance and, frankly, happiness.
So the question to think about is, how will you actively maintain and rebuild that indispensable social resource when the sprint ends?
That wraps up this Omni Deep Dive episode. Thank you for listening. If you found value in today's deep dive, please click like and subscribe to our channel. Take care.